Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 21 of my Grassroots Spotlight series, which I am rekindling. And I'm enough to have as my first guest back, Mr. Clay Clark himself. How you doing, Clay?
I am excited to be here with you. You look like you're in an interesting location right now.
I am in an 160-year-old house. I've got, you can see this cavernous man cave I have up here.
Awesome.
Yeah, I got beams built about older than got us, both of us put together by a long shot. So yeah, up here in
It's
New Hampshire.
gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I really do. I love rustic, historic, manly man caves. So great work there.
Yeah, it's got its own charm. I'm still getting used to the different architecture here in the Northeast, but it grows on you.
Yeah.
Well, Clay needs no introduction. He's the founder of Thrive Time Show, as well as got the head honcho of the Reawakening Tour, which a lot of patriots around the country have been to. Um, Clay also hosted the podcast around what is actually the name of the event? The Podcaster Symposium in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I had the pleasure of attending that last month, and Clay's hospitality was phenomenal. It was a great event, a lot of great people to meet. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, I'll just make sure everyone knows this. For anybody out there that goes to timetofreeamerica.com, and you know this because you're 100% on board to save this nation as well. But we have a window of time right now where everybody needs to contribute and get involved in to the best of their ability. And so if your listeners go to timetofreeamerica.com, and I think there's like a share button you can click to enable sharing where I can share the screen with you. But I'll tell the listeners out there, if you go to timetofreeamerica.com, we host these Reawaken America Tour events, not to make a bunch of money. We do it because we're trying to save this republic. And so what we need to do is we all need to do something. Everybody needs to get involved. And so what General Flynn and I do is we've hosted these podcaster summits where we teach podcasters how to grow their podcast. And I think when you attended, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we charged anything for that. And I believe when you left, I don't think I called you and asked you for anything. Is that accurate?
That is 100% accurate.
Okay, so I want to make sure people know that. So, it's not one of these things where we're trying to make a bunch of money. We're trying to save our country, right? So the reason why we host that podcaster event for free is to help the podcasters. And the reason why we host these Reawaken America Tour events, June 7th and 8th in Detroit, Michigan, is because I believe that everybody out there needs to know what's going on, the truth about election fraud, medical fraud, religious fraud, monetary fraud, mainstream media fraud, and to ultimately get people back to God. And so when we bring speakers like General Flynn, Kash Patel, Eric Trump, Laura Trump. You know this because you've been on the planet for a while, but it's very rare you see all of these people come to the same place. You don't see it happen, So Rudy Giuliani is joining us now. He just confirmed yesterday. So the lineup continues to grow. America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani, is joining us. General Flynn is joining us. Eric Trump, Laura Trump, Roger Stone, Alina Habba. The lineup continues to grow, and people say, well, why do you do these events? Again, we're just trying to save our nation. And then on a different parallel idea, it's parallel because it's a conference, but very different. I've been hosting business conferences every 2 months since 2005. And so for anybody who wants to attend our historic, legendary business workshops we've been doing for 19 years. I've been doing these for 19 years. You can go right now to thrivetimeshow.com and you can request a ticket for that. So if you just go to thrivetimeshow.com, and our one coming up here in June, that features Tim Tebow, the legendary football player, obviously Peter Taunton, a Christian business owner who grew a $100 million business, in an all-star lineup you don't want to miss. So again, if you want to grow a business, that's the thrivetimeshow.com. That's thrivetimeshow.com. And if you want to attend the Reawaken America Tour, that's timetofreeamerica.com, timetofreeamerica.com. So a lot going on here, and hopefully we're providing resources for all the listeners today.
Very good. Well, you always come with a couple of topics and some prepared material. So let's jump right into it. And
Absolutely. Let me pull this up real quick for you.
Yep.
So right now, the price of gold is spiking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show people a little trick here. If everybody just goes to Google and you type in Kitco spot price gold per ounce, this is a ticker that you can pull up, and it's always going to be updating throughout the day. And just because gold is going up today, and just because gold appears to be getting near $2,400, that's not why you should be watching it. You need to be watching gold because Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they are preparing to introduce a gold-backed programmable central bank digital currency. Now, on January 1st, we're going to go up here to Twitter. Okay, we're going to do a search here for BRICS. On January 1st, what happened on January 1st is you had countries, 5 additional countries. You had Iran, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, you had Ethiopia and Egypt. They all joined BRICS. And since that time, you've seen an acceleration of the BRICS bloc acting militarily together in unison and financially in unison. And so what's happening right now, as we're doing this show right now, the United States, 9 minutes ago, just announced the deployment of U.S. soldiers, reinforcements to the Middle East. Right now, the United States just announced deployment of reinforcements to the Middle East. And last night, this is not my opinion, last night, you had Iran. They announced that they plan on attacking Israel. So just to be clear, you can see the back and forth, the saber rattling. Last night, Iran warned the Biden administration that if the United States gets involved in fighting between Israel and between Iran and Israel, U.S. forces will be attacked. Joe Biden's response to this, or his handlers, their response to this was that the United States would be standing with Israel. The United States pledged to defend Israel. Now, again, just moments ago, as we've been recording this show here, the United States just announced deployment of reinforcements to the Middle East. And just 15 minutes ago, Hezbollah launched massive rocket attacks on northern Israel. So this is all happening right now, and there's this convergence, and you know this because you follow these geopolitical things, Brady. You're seeing an acceleration of these events all taking place, de-dollarization and militarization at the same time.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, every one of these subjects could be an hour-long conversation. What I find interesting is the Biden administration finds itself between a rock and a hard place. We know about their long-held, shall we say, cozy relationship with Iran. At the same time, a big part of their Democratic backers have got the long-standing cozy relationship with Israel. So it's really hard to guess which direction they're going to jump. But as I say, things are going to get interesting.
Yeah, it's going to get interesting, and I would say, in my opinion, terrifying, but some might say interesting, or maybe interesting is terrifying. I'm not really sure. My wife calls it interesting. I call it terrifying, but maybe we mean the same thing, but it's happening. And so I'm just trying to give people some tools here because, again, you're going to need some tools, right? We all agree we need some tools. So these are tools that don't benefit me. These are tools I'm giving to you for free. If you go up here to Twitter and you do a search for BRICS, you want to follow BRICS News. And BRICS News, there's many different BRICS reports out there, but I've noticed that BRICS News seems to be the most accurate, real-time update on the BRICS bloc and what they are doing financially and militarily. Also, if you go to Kitco and you look at the spot price of gold, this will refresh throughout the day, real time, but you're seeing gold move. Gold is moving up, and usually when gold moves up, that shows that there's a lack of confidence in the U.S. dollar, and it also shows, again, this is just stuff that gold shows. When the value of gold goes up, it shows the confidence in the U.S. dollar is going down. Also, historically, the increased value of gold shows that countries may be preparing for war. So this is stuff we need to know. We need to be unpacking right now. We need to be aware of this. Now, this is Mark Morris. This is a guy who I particularly find that Mark Moss does a very good job unpacking the financial side of what's going on. But again, if you're just tracking the finances and you're not tracking the military, you're missing the conversation. We're seeing an increased de-dollarization and an increased militarization. You're seeing this happen. So let me hit play here, folks.
The gold price just exploded, taking out decades-old resistance, and now it's shooting higher into what we call price discovery. And while it's exciting for gold bug investors, it's a much bigger deal than just what the price is doing. The big news is what this move is trying to tell us about the markets right now. More importantly, what's coming next that we need to be prepared for. Nations have been buying gold at a record rate. As a matter of fact, this goes back to 2010. And look at the amount of increase that nations have been buying gold at. Now, it's no wonder why. 2014, 2015, both China and Russia started to de-dollarize, meaning they didn't want to buy as many U.S. treasuries as they had before. And then, of course, here was around 2021, we had the trucker protest, and then Russia had their bank account seized, or I think that was right here about 2022. And the whole world was basically put on notice that money in the bank and money in U.S. treasuries isn't really safe. They could just be stolen at any time. And so the nations have been in this mad rush to buy more gold than any time in history. Now, we can see this. It's pretty interesting to take a look at this. If we look at the nations that have actually been buying gold, which ones are they? Well, when China watched what happened to Russia, they thought, shoot, that could probably happen to us. We should probably take some evasive maneuvers to make sure that doesn't happen, which is why you can see here, China is the largest buyer of gold by a long shot. Singapore is right here, number 2, Czech Republic, number 3, Iraq, right here, Philippines, etc. No United States, no Canada.
The petrodollar is actually a device invented by Kissinger and Nixon.
The standard of living of all Americans can be traced back to here, the vast oil-rich deserts of Saudi Arabia.
In the early 70s, after the Arab crisis happened with the oil embargoes, OPEC basically tripled the price of oil to the Western world. And at that time, America realized that they were vulnerable because they were importing about 70% of all the oil they consumed.
This is all happening right now, folks. We are seeing a move away from the U.S. dollar as Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and now the new BRICS nations, Dubai, Iran, Saudi Arabia. You're beginning to see Egypt, Ethiopia. They're all teaming up militarily and financially with the goal of changing the power structure in the world, or moving away from the U.S. dollar, specifically the United States being in the lead. This is called what we call the Great Reset. It is occurring right now.
You know, it's interesting. Ever since the Russia-Ukraine turmoil broke out 2 years ago, you know, I did some little bit of deep diving in there. And if you look at the core foundational piece on Russian foreign policies, it's something called the Primakov Doctrine, written in 1998. Pillar number 1 is for Russia to get off the monopolar dollar hegemony, basically the rules-based transatlantic order post-World War II. That has always been their goal. That's basically what the BRICS started to work towards slowly and then a little bit more rapidly, and we're building up towards that. And I actually think that could be a good thing long-term for America, is to have currency competition, but I don't want it, you know, we don't want the worst-case scenarios that are involved in that. So these are precarious times.
And again, I don't say these things to scare. I say these things to prepare. And I find that most people, you know, like my wife and I've known about the collapse of the dollar for a long time. You know, 1971, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they began hoarding the earth's gold. And I knew that, you know, I mean, I've known this since 2005. I didn't know it in 1999, but I've known this since 2005. I mean, I've had bankers in my life that have told me, they said, hey, listen, and since 1971, in 1971, America moved off the gold standard. And in 1971, Klaus Schwab, he started the World Economic Forum. In 1971, Henry Kissinger told Henry Kissinger right there, per the recommendation of Henry Kissinger, Richard Nixon decided to move us off the gold standard. And in 1971, per the recommendation of Henry Kissinger, right there on the video, Klaus Schwab started the World Economic Forum. And in 1971, per the recommendation probably of Satan, America began sacrificing babies to Baal, aka abortion. And in 1971, per the recommendation of Henry Kissinger, America began talking about this thing called the petrodollar, a currency that's backed by nothing other than an agreement or a relationship with Saudi Arabia. And the idea was we would protect Saudi Arabia militarily. We would protect Saudi Arabia militarily as long as they priced their oil using U.S. dollars. And that was the relationship. That relationship is now over, folks. Watch this.
This U.S.-Saudi agreement, all other oil-producing nations also adopted the dollar as the de facto medium of exchange. Demand for it increased exponentially all over the world, and soon it had a new name, the petrodollar.
Your currency is only as strong as the demand for it, just like anything else, the supply and demand. Why the petrodollar is important, it causes a demand for the U.S. dollar. A lot of Americans don't realize that over 70% of all the $100 bills in the world are actually outside of the US. There's more $100 bills in Russia than there are in America.
This stockpile of US dollars in countries around the world is because oil is bought and sold using the greenback.
If oil starts trading
Think about this listen to what he's saying, folks. Listen to what he's saying here. This is mind-boggling.
on petrodollars, such as gold or a basket of currencies, or if China and Russia start trading in yuan and ruble rather than US dollars, that demand isn't there. And the way of life for the average American will be done. It will be worse than the Great Depression.
Wow. Okay, that's what's happening right now. So again, real time, you go up here to Kitco, you can look at this right now, real time spot price of gold. Also, you go up here to Twitter, you can go to twitter.com/bricks-info, and you can see this. I mean, I'm telling you, you're seeing this now. I believe that we're living through Revelation chapter 16, verse 12 through 14. Now, somebody out there might disagree with me, and that's okay. I encourage you to challenge what I'm saying. Open your Bible to Revelation chapter 16, verse 12 through 14, the final book of the Bible, where John wrote what the vision that God gave him. And he says here, and he wrote here, the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Okay. The Euphrates River is drying up. Okay. And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, China, out of the mouth of the beast. That's AI. By the way, for anybody out there who hasn't studied this, most of the leading technologists are referring to AI and CERN as the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. Who's the false prophet? This guy, Yuval Noah Harari. He is openly talking about implementing the Great Reset. This is the guy praised by Obama, Zuckerberg, Gates, MIT, Stanford, Harvard. Listen to this, folks.
And there's this guy, Yuval Harari. I know you know him. 60 Minutes loves him. All the big globalists love him. The Obamas probably love him too. He really nailed it with this soundbite about COVID, how what they were allowed to get away with is such a perfect vehicle for their new little authoritarian future. Here, check this out.
It's not an extremely deadly virus. It's not the Black Death. And look what it's doing to the world. So now just try to think what will be the implications of a much bigger problem like climate change. Also, conceptually, it shows that, and here I completely agree with you, Rutger, that it shows you that you can change things on a massive scale. That, and again, you can stop all flights. You can lock down entire countries. You can actually do that. And life goes on in some way. And this, I would say, may make us more open to radical ideas about how to deal also with climate change.
This is it. Tucker, this may be my favorite clip of all time. This is the globalist mindset. Like, we got you guys to put a face diaper on your face that does jack freaking shit. And we got you to take an experimental vaccine. And really, nobody did much about it. So next, we'll give you a carbon passport, a central bank digital currency. Shit, we'll stamp a QR code on your forehead and you all are just going to go along. I mean, they just listen to their own words. You don't got to make stuff up.
Well, I'll just make the obvious observation that that's evil and he's evil. Yeah. He also is a remarkably effective communicator, which is scary. I mean, he's not stupid. I read his book, Sapien, actually beautifully written book. Not even his first language, by the way. I don't think English is his first language, and he wrote so he is, and he's a great communicator, which is even more ominous. But he's evil, and he's evil for a really simple reason. He's an atheist, and atheists shouldn't have.
Now, the only thing I disagree with about Tucker is I would say that Yuval Noah Harari is not an atheist, I believe. And again, I respect Tucker Carlson a lot. I just believe that Yuval Noah Harari, if you listen to the statements he says, he wants to introduce a new religion. So I'm not the one wanting to introduce a new religion. I'm not. This guy's actually calling for rebuilding the temple right now. And for anybody out there that doesn't know the significance of that, in the Bible, it states in the book of Daniel that the Antichrist will stand in the new temple and declare that he is God. The Bible talks about there's the Father, Son, Holy Ghost. That's the good team, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. But on Team Satan, there is Satan, the Antichrist, and the Antichrist prophet. Listen to this, folks. Here we go.
So you have these dreams about a world without hierarchy, without injustice, without poverty, and which means, in effect, a world with completely different laws. than the laws we recognize, that we are familiar with. And the idea is that there would be this magical moment, the revolution, or the crusade, or we'll rebuild the temple, or we'll create a new perfect utopian society, and it will be a moment of historical redemption.
Okay, again, he's talking about the Great Reset. This guy is straight satanic, and I believe he is the false prophet discussed in the book of Revelation. I don't say that kind of thing often. I have no idea who the Antichrist is, but I really do believe this guy who's praised by Obama, Zuckerberg, Gates, MIT, Stanford, the world's #1 author right now, sounds a lot like he's applying for the job to be the Antichrist prophet. And it says, for they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth into the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them for that battle, that great day of God Almighty. Back to BRICS. What's happening right now? The kings of the East, China, Russia, Iran, etc. They're all teaming up against Israel. When? Now. What's going on? The Euphrates River is drying up. When? Now. The beast technology, AI, is showing up. When? Now. The false prophet is showing up. When? Now. So you call it exciting times, call it terrifying times, but that's what's happening, and that's kind of what's on my mind right now. So I encourage everybody out there, if you want to know the truth about election fraud, medical fraud, religious fraud, monetary fraud, mainstream media fraud, all of it, go to timetofreeamerica.com and come join us June 7th and 8th in Detroit, Michigan. That's June 7th and 8th, Detroit, Michigan. It's going to be an all-star lineup. We just added Rudy Giuliani, Eric Trump, Kash Patel, Laura Trump, Team America. Get those tickets right now at timetofreeamerica.com. Detroit, Michigan. Again, folks, you can name your price. Come to this event. It's going to be life-changing for you, I promise.
Fantastic. I just wanted to quickly pontificate on that 1971 year, because none of this stuff is on accident. A few other things that happened in 71 was that Klaus Schwab founds the World Economic Forum. Kissinger makes a secret trip to China to open up China to the West. And Maurice Strong basically set forth the path of the United Nations towards the climate change alarmism that we're seeing today. And it all points toward the Great Reset. These are the things I've been talking about for the last couple of years. And Clay hit on a bunch of the points right there.
Can you repeat those final two 1971 points there?
We had the formation of the World Economic Forum by Klaus Schwab.
Yep.
We had Nixon. I'll give all three. Nixon opened up China to the West, and Maurice Strong at the United Nations launched the first of the conferences that set us down the path of global warming alarmism.
Also, 1971, John Lennon wrote a song called Imagine that prophesied COVID-19. Also in 1971, the book Rules for Radicals was introduced, dedicated to Satan, a book quoted by Obama and Hillary Clinton, the book that taught you how to use secular humanism to overcome God's laws, basically to use emotions to win debates instead of using facts. I mean, there's so much nefariousness that happened in 1971. But again, folks, resources, because I want to leave people always with tools, action steps, and things you can do here. So if you want to watch the Reawaken America Tour documentary tonight for free, you can watch it tonight by going to timetofreeamerica.com. You can get tickets for the Reawaken America Tour at timetofreeamerica.com. If you want to know about the spot price of gold at any given time, just go to Kitco and just go to Google, type in Kitco gold spot price. You can find it. And if you go to Twitter and go to BRICS, twitter.com/BRICS-info, you can see real-time updates about what's happening. But again, it is happening. What is happening? The Great Reset, or at least the attempt to do the Great Reset. And I believe that President Trump and the wonderful patriots out there are the only thing standing in the way. Thank you so much for your time today. I really do appreciate you.
Clay, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Great to see you. And I'm sure we'll bump into each other in the very near future.
All right. Take care, brother. Bye.
Cheers.